Welcome to Snowflake's The Startup Challenge. This is a global competition to find the best startup that leverages the Snowflake Data Cloud. The competition is fierce, and the stakes are high. There were over 250 startups from over 56 countries who entered to win. We've whittled down the entries to just 3 finalists. Getting that far was a hard enough task. In the last round, our finalists will have to convince the judges that they have the best idea and that they are worthy of the $250,000 prize. To pick our winners today, we have tapped some of Silicon Valley's finest. We are honored to have co-founder and president of product at Snowflake, Benoit Dageville, partner at Sequoia Capital, Carl Eschenbach, Chief Marketing Officer at Snowflake, Denise Persson, and Managing Director at Sutter Hill Ventures, Mike Speiser. And I'm your host, Felipe Hoffa. Hello, and welcome to the grand finale of the Snowflake Startup Challenge. Hundreds of startups applied for the Snowflake Startup Challenge, and today you are going to meet our 3 finalists. They are all eager to meet our judges, who will decide the winner of our competition. Our winner will receive visibility, mentoring, and a potential investment of $250,000. Let's meet our judges. Let's welcome one of Snowflake founders and president of products, Benoit Dageville.
Hi.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Yeah, bonjour.
Now, Benoit, 9 years ago, it was you pitching the idea of Snowflake to investors who could not have imagined how big this was going to be. What advice could you give to yourself if you could fly back in time and speak to young Benoit only for 1 minute?
To young Benoit, he's not that young at that time. But I would say, be yourself and be confident and no panic.
Yes. And I'm also proud to introduce Snowflake's Chief Marketing Officer, Denise Persson. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Felipe. Great to be here today.
Good to have you here. For those that don't know, she came to Snowflake after driving several high-growth startups through successful IPOs. What's the biggest mistake startups can make when pitching?
I think a big mistake is to say that there's no competition. So I hope we're not going to hear that today. Someone says there's no competition. That's going to come across very naive. There's always competition. There's always potential competition. There's always alternatives. So let's be real about that.
And our next judge is partner at Sequoia Capital, Carl Eschenbach.
Hello, it's great to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you here. As a leader, he started at VMware very early, where he led the company from 200 employees to 20,000. He's a Silicon Valley legend, and that includes being an early investor in Snowflake. And he not only finds the best, he also makes them their best. Carl, I did a little bit of research, and I learned that in high school you were a competitive wrestler. Is there a lesson that our teams can learn from wrestling that they could use today?
Yeah, I guess if you just think about the word wrestle, it means to struggle. And if you apply that to the startup world, it is a struggle. There's ups, there's downs, there's a lot of challenges, and it takes perseverance, grit, and tenacity to work through all of those challenges. So I guess if I tie the word wrestle to struggle and tie a struggle to startups, I think there is a correlation between all of those.
And last but not least, Managing Director at Sutter Hill Ventures, Mike Speiser.
Hey, nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you can be here with us. When you judge startups, do you want to see them as experts in their field?
What we look for is we look for amazing entrepreneurs trying to do something the world needs and that and the world will actually value and pay for. And every startup's different. But more often than not, having someone like Benoit as the founder, who's one of the world's best in the domain, is a very good thing.
To remind all the viewers at home, the judges will be basing their decision on a range of factors, including overall business potential and market opportunity, innovation and the uniqueness of what they built, how they leverage Snowflake Data Cloud, and most importantly, the team. And now it's the time we've all been waiting for. Let's meet our first team.
Judges, thank you for selecting Overlay Analytics as a semi-finalist in the Snowflake Startup Challenge. We're excited to share more about how we're changing the way middle market firms think about modern financial reporting.
I saw these same challenges over and over again in my roles as a CFO for a $200 million manufacturing company and as a partner with a multinational consulting firm. An investment in overlay analytics will be used to scale our world-class team to provide additional onboarding bandwidth while maintaining a strong pipeline. Additionally, we're working to accelerate the delivery of our product roadmap.
Our goal isn't to hide our infrastructure and data modeling in a black box behind our front-end application, but to provide our clients with many different avenues of interacting with their curated data.
Here's the deal. With all the noise out there surrounding big data, we appreciate that this seems improbable. So we actually ask our clients not to trust us, but to try us. Because at Overlay Analytics, it's our belief that seeing is believing. I founded Overlay Analytics after witnessing firsthand how access to enhanced financial reporting can change the trajectory of a business. After spending nearly a decade at Deloitte, helping clients through financial and operational turnarounds, I set out to build a platform to help enable middle market executives make stronger, data-driven decisions. Every company understands the importance of financial reporting. Unfortunately, that reporting hasn't evolved much over the past 100 years. Although most ERPs do a great job of capturing and consolidating transaction-level data, they typically fail at extracting insights so that senior leaders across an organization can make real-time decisions. When a direct-to-consumer brand came to us, they were in the middle of unprecedented growth. They'd saturated their NetSuite environment and were unable to get simple, period-based financial reporting. Today, with Overlay Analytics, they're able to monitor financial performance through high-level reports and trended charts, or by diving deep into the transaction-level data with their own business intelligence tools. They now have a platform that operates at the speed of their business. My former colleague, Josh Beaver, was working as a partner at PwC when I'd approached him. Josh represented the modern financial executive we were trying to target with our product. When he agreed to join as our COO, I knew we were on the right track.
In my work with middle market clients at PwC, I was hearing time and time again from companies who had invested millions of dollars in data collection software that timely and intuitive reporting remained elusive. Like many of their peers, they were missing the high-end talent required to bring this collected data to life. We were offering these services at the firm, but access to our teams was limited to our largest clients. Having previously served as the CFO of a $200 million company, I immediately understood the value of automating financial planning and analysis cycles to power quicker insights and stronger forecasting. We knew that in order to democratize data-driven decision-making, we needed top-end talent. We've assembled a world-class team with experience from companies such as Activision Blizzard, United Health, and Walmart, all led by our manager of data engineering, Hallie Million.
Let's talk about how our platform works. Our clients are often using multiple ERP systems such as NetSuite, QuickBooks, and Microsoft Dynamics. We start by seamlessly extracting data from these systems directly into Snowflake. From there, we've crafted sophisticated data models that standardize this raw data into digestible business logic. These automated models allow us to quickly and confidently deliver this data through visualizations or directly back to our clients via secure shares for use in their own discovery tools. The end result is an easy-to-use portal with the ability to view a curated suite of financial reports at the individual or consolidated company level. Building the financial reporting platform of tomorrow meant partnering with the data cloud of the future. Our platform needed to be built on a foundation of trust and credibility. Our clients recognize Snowflake as a leader in the industry, delivering peace of mind by leveraging the most comprehensive cloud security technologies available, such as end-to-end encryption and dynamic data masking.
Here's what we know about our market. There are over 200,000 private companies with revenues between $1 million and $1 billion. It's the fastest growing sector of our economy, and they're investing heavily in innovation to the tune of 8 to 10% of top line revenue. During a Snowflake App Week session, it was estimated that the SaaS market will eclipse $220 billion in 2022, with data-intensive applications leading the charge. This is our market, and this is where our traction is coming from. Our current customer profiles range from aerospace manufacturing to food and auto parts distributors. With nearly 95% net retention rates, we've achieved close to 500% growth in annualized monthly recurring revenues and over $1 million of total revenue in the past 12 months.
Now that we've been able to standardize an efficient onboarding process for our customers, we are ready to take off. An investment in overlay analytics will be used to accelerate the delivery of our product roadmap while scaling up our world-class team to provide additional onboarding bandwidth to a strong pipeline of customers. We're excited to be building the financial reporting platform of the future on the Snowflake Data Cloud. At Overlay Analytics, we are on a mission to democratize data-driven financial reporting. We believe every business deserves access to accurate and up-to-date information so that they can make better decisions faster. Thank you.
I want to ask you a little bit about the partner ecosystem around Overlay. Do you expect to partner with any of the finance consulting firms, or how do you see your partner ecosystem being developed?
Thanks, Denise. So that's been important to us as we look to scale from where we are today through the next 100 customers. We're actively in discussions right now with financial service providers in the middle market that focus on delivering value creation and financial reporting for private equity firms. We think partnerships like these, as we begin to scale, are going to be critical for helping expedite our onboarding process, as well as adding valuable customer insight into our product development roadmap.
Thanks.
I just want to follow on Denise's question, and kind of tangential to that is thinking about how you go to market. Obviously, you want all of your customers, and we do want them to host their data in the data cloud at Snowflake, and then you're going to run on top of it. But how do you anticipate going to market to actually partner with these people? Is it direct? Is it indirect? Is it through this ecosystem that Denise just spoke about? What's your strategy there?
We have three primary focuses that are driving growth today. So the first at this stage is primarily through our own networks, helping private equity firms in the past. We like the leverage model that making one sale into a private equity firm generally leads to multiple deals across the portfolio. From there, given the nature of our business model, there's a lot of time and investment that goes into developing the technology around a specific technology suite. So if it's NetSuite or if it's Great Plains, and building those data models. And so we're looking to do direct marketing campaigns that will target specific users of those products that we have known issues with reporting or scale. And then finally, it'll be through the last step, I believe, is actually going to be through those strategic partnership channels that will act as an onboarding and implementation partner of the Overlay Analytics solution.
From what I understood, you share data, you use the data cloud to share data back to your users. So you collect, their financial data with connectors, I assume, to the main ERP system, and then you do your reporting from there, but then you can share that data back. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, that's really cool.
If you'd like, Hallie can provide a bit more detail on how they're using it and how that process works.
Yeah, I would like to understand.
Of course. So we think it's really exciting for our customers. A lot of the companies that we go into, this may be the first time that they're seeing this type of reporting, especially at this speed. So as you can imagine, they get their hands on it and they're really hungry for data. And that really excites, especially me as with a data background. So what we're doing is we bring in their raw data. We run our transformations, and then we give them back the raw data and the transformed data via secure shares. And with that, we're also setting them up with their own Snowflake instances. So they have the ability to utilize the data marketplace, utilize Snowsight, and really build that foundation and solidify a single source of truth for a lot of companies that may not have had that before.
That's great.
Hallie, what's the best example of something magical that customers can do with your product that they can't do with any other option in the market?
That's a really good question. And I think it really comes down to, again, what I was saying before is they really haven't had access to this before. And what we're providing, I think, going back to my background a little bit, I come from a pretty traditional BI background. And, Josh and Brian are, they have the accounting expertise. They've been on that executive side. I think what was missing in my previous life is a lot of time when you're developing dashboards for your end stakeholders, a lot of that's happening within business intelligence organizations. And then when you get those dashboards to the end user, maybe they're not exactly what they're looking for. And, in my experience, you may end up with a lot of dashboards out there with zero views, maybe after you presented it, a couple of them. But what's really special about this is we're curating those views at the beginning.
Do you have the ability to allow customers or potential customers, as in prospects, to get access to your platform? Do you guys have to be engaged every time someone wants to see a dashboard or what it looks like using their data?
Today, you do have to engage with us directly. So we do have a direct onboarding methodology. So, when we're sourcing new clients through any of our different channels, we are taking them through a fairly homogenous, set of steps to get them on board to our platform. We as a company, and Hallie and Brian and I have been spending a lot of time recently trying to understand, are there additional paths to market that might help us propel our growth, such as, a light version of the tools that we're using. So when we talk about, this curated suite of dashboards, that really harkens back to the backgrounds that Brian and I have through financial advisory and consulting. Many of the engagements we would have run, whether from a value creation perspective, a buy side or sell side due diligence, when you start to think about the reports that the firms are giving back to the clients, typically those first 20 pages they're the same every time, right?
Right now, we're certainly doing things that we recognize don't scale well. The early clients we have, we welcome the opportunity to partner with them on a lot of their harder data challenges where they're not looking to re-engage us necessarily. We have a fairly open door policy at this stage because the value that these early customers are bringing to us and to our platform are dramatically influencing our product roadmap. And that's not something we'd like to give up at this point, although we are looking for opportunities to truly make this more accessible without engaging with us directly. Josh mentioned it briefly, but specific context around it would be a TurboTax style onboarding experience for them.
Well said.
So now in the beginning, you're going to be very focused on landing new customers, but where do you see the expansion opportunities be within those accounts moving forward? Do you see that you will be able to solve other use cases within those clients as well?
100%. And so what we're seeing today is that, if keep in mind, the customers that we're really meeting, they're middle market. Historically, they've had no access to this type of a solution because in the past, to get here, it would have required, whether it's a data engineer to build the pipelines, an analyst or someone to build the models and ultimately the dashboards. And that assumes somebody can go out and procure all of the technology they need. And so where I think the real opportunity is every time we start with our enhanced financial reporting platform, that's the first time a lot of these clients are getting access to their data at this level. And so there's immediate both relief, but also more questions because they see what's possible early on and they immediately start to want to understand why and dive in. It's only so important to understand what happened in the past. Every single one of our clients are using this information that they have to drive forecasts or to make decisions that will improve tomorrow. And so as we, land and expand, there's natural opportunities to go slightly deeper in a more bespoke nature in almost every setting that we have. That's why we're engaging with the financial services firms that can do a Salesforce style customization of our platform without us needing to grow that side of the house today.
Yeah, and if I could just come on the back end of that, Brian, we fully recognize, Denise, obviously the need to both increase the number of shoppers, but also increase their cart size. So, Hallie's team obviously leads a fairly robust product development roadmap, which is largely driven off of the direct feedback we're getting from our customers. A core tenet of our business is obviously listening to our customers' needs and finding ways to address those. So, that might be simple feature sets, such as, the ability to filter dashboards from within the dashboards by clicking on certain elements. But more importantly, it's, where I think the true economic opportunity rests for us is in developing those next modules. So smart forecasting, budget to actual, things of that nature that allow us to not only expand the number of companies that are interested in partnering with Overlay, but, also start to upsell the existing customers today.
I have one question about the pricing model. Are you charging per user? Is this a subscription model, consumption model? How is that working?
Yeah, so we charge an implementation fee up front. It's largely variable based on the level of complexity and the number of data connections which might be required, as well as a recurring monthly payment for continued access to our platform. We believe that this perfectly aligns our desire for a long-term relationship with our clients. as well as their interests in obtaining, continuous and near-time access to enhanced reporting. As we're sharing back our data models through the Snowflake Secure Share, many of our customers today are actually creating their own KPI models, metric models, things of this nature, and they'll often come back to us having done sort of that homework themselves and ask us to crystallize those through our front end. In those cases, we do expand that monthly revenue component.
Do you see at some point that you could become, at least for some customers, completely self-service, where you don't need to be involved? And I mean, is it the direction?
Yes. So we're actively pursuing a seed round now that will help us address some of those manual things that could be automated that we're doing internally today, simply because we're resource constrained. And so, as I mentioned, we're taking our clients from cradle to grave today. In the future, we envision, like I mentioned, a TurboTax style offering where specific context and classification of cash, GL accounts, or the like will be able to guide a user through an onboarding experience so they can put in their NetSuite credentials. The data will get extracted automatically, pulled into Snowflake. Our data models will pick it up from there, convert it into the handful of reporting tables that we use to power our front end, and then they'll be able to go through and customize that final visualization layer.
Thank you for your questions. That was a great pitch, an interesting conversation, and thank you so much to the team at Overlay Analytics. Yes, any thoughts now? How did you think this pitch went?
Listen, I thought they did a good job. They know their business. I like their background experience. They come from this domain. And I like the fact, while it's not self-serve today and it's not frictionless, I like the fact that they have the experience, and a lot of the customers they're targeting don't actually know what to do with the data and don't know how to build dashboards. So them engaging early on and helping set the stage for what they think their customers need, I thought was a nice touch. But eventually, to Benoit's point, you want to see how you can make this frictionless and get customers easy access to your solution. But it's a journey to get there, and I think they're starting off on the right track by staying engaged and then moving to self-serve downstream.
Yeah, I like the fact that they've lived the pain themselves, because you need to be able to put yourselves in the customer's shoes, right? That's an advantage.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it a lot because I like democratization of access. So they use their domain expertise and they build a service. I think the end game is really to be completely self-service. If they cannot get there, I have some doubts, but I think they can get there. Yeah, the democratization of access to data is really great.
Any thoughts, Mike?
I mean, the opportunity to build on top of what the Snowflake team has built to connect that incredible technology to real problems, it's vast, it's massive, and it will come to companies like this that are domain experts in ways that Snowflake's not, and there are very few domain experts that are as deep as these folks working with technology like Snowflake.
Nice. Well, that was a great first pitch. Thank you to Overlay Analytics. Next up, I'd like to introduce Invoke Learning. Let's take a look at their video.
We are Invoke Learning.
Lige Hensley, founder and CEO of Invoke Learning. I also serve as the chief snack getter, the lunch coordinator, and the video game curator.
Steve Ehrlich, advisor for Invoke Learning. I focus on business operations and strategy.
Mike Keithley, senior cloud architect. And this is Sprocket.
Rob Emenaker, senior data warehouse architect. I move data, lots of data.
Brendan Aldrich, a founder of Invoke Learning, and I believe that every great story starts with a yes.
When it comes right down to it, Invoke Learning is about hope. Hope for fair and equal access to education for every student. Hope for colleges trying to return students to campus safely. And hope for education itself, which is literally emerging from one of the most challenging years in over 4 generations. Invoke Learning, with our education-focused AI, is now empowering colleges to perform what we call whole student analytics, analytics across the entire student life cycle that can help colleges understand how to help each student be successful. My name is Brendan Aldrich, and along with my partner Lige Hensley, we are the founders of Invoke Learning. We are reinventing higher ed decision-making with the first education-focused AI analytics solution designed specifically for higher education. Before Invoke Learning, we spent the last decade working as chief data and chief technology officers for some of the largest college and university systems in the country, including the California State University. We have a passion for improving and supporting higher education. And in fact, we're pitching you today from the campus of one of our clients, Butler University. Invoke Learning exists because higher education is in crisis. By December of 2019, higher education had experienced 7 years of dramatic drops in enrollment, persistence, and graduation rates. The pandemic both amplified and highlighted these trends while creating additional challenges around engagement, success, and diversity. By any normal definition, this last year made every student an at-risk student. My own passion is driven from the fact that at 18 years old, I wasn't prepared to be even a good college student. As a result, it took me 16 years to finish my bachelor's degree, and that was without a pandemic. With Invoke Learning, we're helping colleges find and help the students who need it. And a big part of doing that right is our people. Over the last 10 years, we and our Indiana-based team have won our schools 4 different national and international awards for our groundbreaking approaches to data in higher education. Now, while that's amazing and fantastic, I can tell you what we're doing with Invoke Learning today is light years better than all of that. Our education-focused AI is now giving schools analytic superpowers. Mainly, this is because we believe you have to understand the person to truly help the student, and that takes a lot of very different data that moves extremely fast. Benoit, Snowflake helps us do that. We use the Snowflake Data Cloud because it too represents the most advanced capabilities available in regard to data. Snowflake's secure data share, as an example, allows us to empower our customers with an enormous array of enriched public information quickly and without costly duplication. This allows us to scale from smaller schools of maybe 2,000 students all the way up to larger systems of 500,000 students and more, with a single unified and cost-effective infrastructure that is fully cloud-based and 100% serverless. We're a software-as-a-service approach that fuels real opportunity. We're helping colleges find the issues before the issues find them. For example, a college that found through data unified from siloed systems that it was sending unsold textbook inventory back to the distributor 3 days before financial aid checks were cut and the students had the money to buy those books. Or when our AI, using advanced behavior models, parsed through billions of pieces of text postings in a school's learning management system to identify stress and anxiety levels that were peaking at over 6 times expected levels. And my favorite, this last year, when students were sent home, institutions addressed the obvious equity gap by handing out laptops and wireless hotspots. But only one college, with the help of Invoke Learning, was able to identify specific student communities experiencing a disproportionate impact from virtual learning. With Invoke Learning, the stories go on, and Snowflake powers it all. The best part about our app, Invoke Clarity, is that it empowers colleges to make significant impacts across an array of strategic goals. Mike, this translates into a huge market opportunity of over $150 billion. A conservative estimate, by the way, that reflects just the US market in higher education. We've had inquiries from Europe, Asia, and South America that we've temporarily deflected in order to establish our US presence. But we plan for internationalization from the beginning, and we can do so without any redesign. But capitalizing on any opportunity requires a successful strategy that goes beyond the opportunistic deals, and we've closed a few. But primarily, we employ a land and expand approach that provides us a chance to focus on our initial market and grow from there. In California, Carl, we started with 2 community colleges. We're now up to 13. We've even been successful in establishing a statewide master services agreement that's available to over 200 colleges in the state. We're beginning to deploy this strategy now into the 4-year market across 2 other states. We also have a pricing model that's built to scale. We offer our solution via an annual subscription priced scaling used full-time equivalent students. This is a pricing approach that's familiar to education. From a revenue perspective, we also recently announced our newest offering, the Invoke Data Lake. This has drawn great interest from schools and opens up even more revenue opportunities. Speaking of revenue, Invoke Learning set a goal of closing $830,000 in new annual recurring revenue this year. Instead, we may close that in the next few months. If you choose to invest in Invoke Learning, we'll use your investment to accelerate business development with additional sales, and Denise, I think you'll appreciate marketing opportunities so that we can convey our full value and help more students faster. The market is ready, and we're ready to capitalize on it. It's been said that there are great technology companies and there are great analytics companies. Invoke Learning is a first mover combining these in some exciting new ways in support of education and students everywhere. Thank you for giving us the chance to tell you more about Invoke Learning.
Thank you so much, Invoke Learning. Now it's time for our judges to ask questions.
I can start. I was very interested by the aspect of data sharing, but here my understanding is that you collect a lot of data from different sources, and then you share this data with the different university, I mean, to run your AI models. So what kind of data do you collect, you know, to build these models?
So the data comes from a variety of different sources. It could be the LMS system, the SIS system that the school has. We also can bring in Facebook, Twitter, social media feeds. And then finally, we bring in curated data sources. Anything that may have an influence on the student, we'll bring that in and include that with the analysis.
Yeah, so first of all, very well done. I really appreciate the mission around the company and how you're helping universities get better insights on their students. And hopefully they can generate more revenue to provide a better level of education. That's for the universities. How do you think you can touch the students, the other persona, and have impact on them, and then become more knowledgeable of what you're doing to help them, and not just the university monetize them?
I'll be honest with you, we've had a number of colleges that are interested in deploying our solutions down to the faculty and down to the student level. We haven't done it yet, although we are technologically scaled and ready to do so. But there's an interesting opportunity, as you suggest, to be able to really provide these insights direct to the student to give them more insight into their own behaviors and actions on how to be more successful.
Yeah, that's where I was going, to try to help the students, which in turn helps the universities. So it's a virtuous cycle for everyone gaining benefit from your platform.
I very much agree with that. I mean, that looks like the target is the student, from what I understood from your project, right? So knowing how I'm doing, you know, knowing the potential risk and who should I ask for help, and having the students very centric, you know, application would be great.
You guys mentioned a number of really interesting examples of how your product's being used to help colleges. What, you know, if you had to pick one kind of use case that is super powerful and a great kind of, you know, illustrative of what you can do, what would it be? Is, you know, something that you've done that's really powerful that just about all your customers would really value?
Yeah, I think for me, I would probably mention some of the stress analysis that we do. The ability to look at all of the data that relates to the student holistically every single day, I think is a great use case, and we've had some real great success with that.
I have a question around the ed tech market as a whole. Since both of you came out of the education sector, ed tech has historically been hard, if you will, to monetize, scale, and grow into a real meaningful company. Are there other adjacencies outside of just higher ed? Can you go into, the high schools or other types of education systems to help expand your total addressable market that you're going after?
Yeah, for sure. And as a matter of fact, the AI is really education focused. Higher ed is where we came from. That's where we have, a bit of a reputation. And so that's where we focus because we know that the best. But it is really education focused. And to be honest, our very first customer wasn't a college at all. It was a corporation that was doing corporate training. And that's actually how we got started, with our pilot technology was working with them. So really anything that's education is fair game for us.
Yeah, thank you. I think this could bleed into the enterprise, or if you will, the corporate world for educators and people in learning development organizations trying to drive their employees to have better outcomes too.
I would assume that you would have challenges to get some of the data. I mean, you talked about every text message that, do you have a way to get this data, or is it a barrier for you to really understand, to really understand a student? I assume you have to get a lot of personalized data and PI data and manage that, and how do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, coming out of education, that was a challenge that we knew we were going to face right off the bat. So first and foremost, the AI does not require any personally identifiable data. So we can take the names, we can obfuscate that, and really reference the students more as objects, and then the school can marry that back up to identify the individual. So from a security perspective, we don't require any personally identifiable data for anything. And so when we go to get the data, we're, again, coming from the industry, we're very familiar with the big players. We have pre-built connectors to all the major higher ed systems today, so we can suck that data in via whatever mechanism that is out there. From a completeness perspective, when it comes to the data, when we do our feature engineering, we try to include as much different diverse data sources as possible, so that if a particular school doesn't feel comfortable sharing a certain aspect of data, or maybe that data is just not available, the AI isn't reliant upon that one avenue of data. So we have thought about that quite a bit, and we have a virtual appliance that we can deploy to our schools. If they have something on-prem that they want to share with us, they can deploy that virtual appliance, which moves that data into the cloud for them, and they don't have to do anything.
Yeah, but a big driver of it was making sure that we could help those colleges get their data onboarded very, very quickly. And in fact, with some of our recent colleges, we've onboarded up to 3 or 4, I think, of their major systems within the first week after they after we began working with them.
Thank you so much to the team at Invoke Learning. Judges, what do you think of this pitch?
I mean, it's a really great cause, for sure. I'm still struggling with the access to data and personal data from these students. You know, how to get that, and you know, at the end, I think the target is the students. So I would like if they had a solution more, you know, personalized to a student that I can, you know, see, you know, without the school being involved. I mean, you know, but I like the idea a lot.
Yeah.
Benoit, I wonder if, you know, all these schools have Exchange or Gmail, and the schools have access to get the emails. I wonder if they can read the emails. I think they have Slack systems. They have Blackbot or Blackboard. Yeah. And so I bet you they can get a lot more information than you would think. I mean, the question is, how do the schools feel about the kind of privacy issues of, you know, reading emails and so forth? But I know that the thing he was talking about with kids right now and kind of stress levels and kind of mental health issues, it's a really big deal, I think, for, you know, for the whole community, you know, not just students, but students are, I don't know, that was compelling to me and plausible.
And it's probably also possible to have the students opt in as well for this, because this is something
that's what I was thinking, right?
Yeah.
If I want to opt in, I can tell you whatever you want from me for you to help me, but don't necessarily tell the school about that, right? At least some data sets should not be shared with the school, right? And then I can tell you a lot more, right?
That's why I was going down the path. This is great for the university to help stickiness with their students, but if you could flip it and focus on the end user, which is the student, and provide value to them, they might opt in because they're going to get information back about where they're at as compared to maybe other students, or what they need to do to get better grades, or whatever it may be. So
and then potentially giving a recommendation to reach out to the school, you know, for that problem. No, I think it's a great idea, and it's a very noble idea too.
Very mission-oriented, which is nice.
Which I really like too.
Next up, I'll introduce Elysium Analytics. Let's roll their video.
Hi, I'm Satish Aburi. I'm CT1 founder of Elysium Analytics. I look after the engineering side.
Hi, I'm Jens Andreasen. I'm the CEO of Elysium Analytics and currently the one who's taking care of the commercial side of the business.
Hi, this is Chris Berry with Elysium Analytics. I'm the head of analytics here. I'm responsible for getting the advanced analytics out to our customer base. Elysium is a Greek mythology, and it refers to like a place where, you know, knights and warriors can go to become anointed into immortals. So we felt it was a good representation that we were taking the user experience and elevating it up to a new one with our ability to do observability across all the data.
We're all on, like, you know, going after this data problems, log problems, and I'm very excited today, like where we are. It's always like, you know, getting the right technology and now with the right challenges. I think we are at the space where we can make a difference to our customers, like, you know, using our product.
Hi, my name is Jens Andreasen. I am the CEO of Elysium Analytics. We provide a solution that gives our customers full observability. This means we're collecting, connecting, and profiling every digital activity in a business. Why do more and more companies want observability? They want it because with all the data, you have a full perspective of what's happening in the infrastructure, and you want to be able to understand why this is happening. But this is not easy. We initially built our solution on Hadoop, but we realized that the architecture was too complex, too expensive, and way too fragile. That's why we decided to port our solution to Snowflake and found that all the problems we were facing with Hadoop went away, and we were then able to focus on building a great product on an amazing platform. Our core team has deep experience and expertise in platform and database architecture, analytics, and commercial scaling from companies such as Oracle, Cylance, SenSage, and Fortinet. We're almost 30 people now, and all of them, except myself, are engineers. Our obsession with building the best observability platform has led to 3 innovations. We have taken a data-first approach and collect all the data from cloud and on-prem. We can take it all without putting any burden on the customer. We used to hear back in the Hadoop days that it would take months just to get a stable data pipeline set up, and that's just plain wrong and very bad for business, I guess, unless you're a Hadoop consultant. We then apply our data model, stitching and connecting the data together. And this is important because you want to be able to do full text search and access the data across all the sources. We also developed a graph model that dynamically builds relationships between data points. And this is really helpful when you go deep down the rabbit hole to figure out what went wrong. You may have all the data, but when you have the data and can visualize connections and relationships, our brain works so much faster and better. Finally, as you know by now, we run natively on Snowflake. All our data engineering, search, data modeling, and graph modeling run on Snowflake compute. This gives us the performance and unlimited scale at far lower cost, as low as 10% of any legacy application running on some cloud instances. For example, one customer we are working with was ingesting 1 terabyte of data per day, but they wanted to increase this to 10 terabytes per day. The problem was their budget would not allow them to spend another several $1 million on the legacy solution. With our usage-based billing model, the cost of ingesting more data is very low, and we deliver all their use cases at a fraction of the cost. With storage on Snowflake, longer retention is no longer an issue, and they can scale up with no operational overhead. You know, the really cool thing is that every company we have gotten up and running is super excited when they get to see what they can do with their data. They're simply just adding sources with no license negotiations, no infrastructure capacity planning, no going back to the CFO for approval for another chunk of money. That's a huge break for the people we work with. So how big is this market? Our market research indicates that the addressable market adds up to about $80 billion. That's a big number. There are 2 types of companies in this space, platform plays and feature plays. None of the legacy platform vendors are cloud native. The new, more innovative vendors entering the market are feature plays or point solutions that are focused on delivering certain use cases to a specific segment of the market. These solutions do not provide full observability, and they even add another data silo. We are the only platform play, one data store solution running natively on Snowflake. We are not only Snowflake native from a technical perspective, but also from a business perspective, with our usage-based billing model mapping to Snowflake's credit consumption, and also by how we do business. We have already established a great relationship with the Snowflake sales team, where we jointly sell into their customer base and bring new customers to them. Since the Snowflake sales teams maintain a direct relationship with our customers, they will continue to get quota retirement, upsell opportunities, as well as direct visibility to customer satisfaction. We truly work as partners. The next activity we will invest in going forward is sales and marketing. We believe we are well into the process of establishing product to market fit, and now we'll start to execute on our go-to-market plan. We strongly believe that we will win in this $80 billion market with a combination of our engineering and Snowflake's zero operation platform, providing a solution at 10x cost advantage. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you. Very well done. And also thank you for making the really intelligent decision on switching from a Hadoop platform to Snowflake. So that's what I want to say first, and I'm sure it makes every one of my colleagues here on the panel appreciative of your partnership. A quick question for you. This is a very crowded space. Observability is a kind of big tent word, and there's logging, there's tracing, there's metrics. It's a very crowded space. If you had an opportunity to take one competitor out of the market that would inhibit your growth going forward, who would that be?
Well, right now, we're not at the stage where it's really a matter of having competitors taking a business away from us. As you know, we're really just starting out going to market. But what we have found in this huge market, and obviously if it's an $80 billion market, there are competitors, significant competitors in the market. And the ones that we are if you say going up against the most right now are probably Splunk and Elasticsearch. But it's not so much about going up against them and doing a rip and replace on their implementation. We're usually coming in as an augmentation. We're solving their problems, customers' problems with regards to bringing in more data and also storing the data longer. I mean, typically it sits next to or underneath or above Splunk. As an alternative or an extra solution for more data retention, better observability. And we think that over time, these customers will switch over to us from Splunk, but that will take some time.
So just a follow-up question. I asked that because I had a follow-up question and wanted to see how we would get to it. And that is, you can peacefully coexist with the existing observability plays out there today and build connectors to them and show their results through your dashboard and solution, so you don't have to replace them day one.
So how do you get started? Do you have a free trial option available today for prospects to?
That's right. That's right. So we get them online with you. They set up their account with you, and they get the $400 credit from you. We will do the same. We will give them, free credits for the duration of the trial, within reason. This is important because nobody will, buy anything up front, as you probably experienced as well, without doing some trials first. And since it's on a usage basis, we got to give them a credit, and that's what we do.
And what is the feedback you're getting from customers so far? What are the things that they're really excited about, and what are the things that they're asking you to work on next?
So what they're really excited about, I think, is the ability to ingest all the data, whether it's on-prem or cloud-based. They have full freedom in what they can bring into this platform. They love the idea of the flexibility of the dashboards and the use cases and the machine learning-based analytics. We provide a bunch of solutions out of the box, but there's also full freedom to develop their own things. And a lot of customers that start off with a relatively narrow set of use cases, whether it's DevOps or security monitoring, and then when they realize what the power of the platform is, they want to bring in more sources. So we have customers now that say, hey, what about this data? What about that data? And they slowly increase. We had one customer, for example, that went from 50 gigabytes per day to 300 gigabytes per day very quickly. And when they discovered that they had use cases they didn't even consider in the first place.
Yeah, and this is Chris here. So just to complement that, we have a mutual customer, a pharmaceutical company that, as Jens said, they initially just started off with search. We just loaded their data into search and provided some dashboardings. But now they're talking to us about taking additional pharmaceutical data and doing machine learning on it. And so we see that as an opportunity to leverage our machine learning and apply it inside of Snowflake.
And I have a question about the architecture. So do you load these data, these metrics, and all the data that you load? Do you load them in your accounts and then you share it back with them, or do you load them directly in their account and they do
their accounts?
Okay, their account. Okay.
Yeah, their accounts. Yeah. But we're willing to accept. I mean, some customers, as Jens was saying earlier, some customers are not that familiar with Snowflake. And so we are willing to sort of run the back end until they are comfortable running their Snowflake instance. But so far, all of the accounts we worked with, they always want to have a direct relationship with Snowflake.
Yeah, perfect.
A question that I think Carl started to ask, kind of what I would kind of love to hear you double click on, is at the beginning of any new project, you can't do everything better than everyone. And you kind of touched on it by saying you don't need to replace people today. Today you can partner with them. But what's the pain point, the severe pain that your product is better positioned to solve than anything else in the market today? You don't have to do everything well, as long as you do one thing that matters really well at the start. What is that one thing you do really well at the start?
Well, we do a lot of things, from data ingestion to machine learning and the flexibility on the dashboards and use cases. But, if you look at surveys on users in this space of observability users, so log monitoring users, the number one pain point they have today is the cost. That's what comes out of all these surveys. And the reason for that is that, a few years ago, there wasn't that much data. There weren't that many sources to ingest. And they didn't really feel the need to retain the data for that long. That's completely changed over the past 2 to 3 years. Now people want to bring in all their data, and there's a lot more data sources now. Cloud platforms, cloud apps, there's more monitoring of endpoints as people are working remotely to a much larger extent. So cost is becoming a huge issue. And as I mentioned in the presentation, One customer, they've been ingesting 1 terabyte a day of data. Now they want to go to 10 because of these changes in digital transformation, as it's called. And when they look at what they have in place today and what that would cost to scale up to 10 terabytes per day, it's just not viable. Now, obviously, running on Snowflake solves that problem significantly with a usage-based pricing model and how efficient we run on the platform. And we see customers come in at 10% to 20% of what they used to pay for existing platforms, which allows them to scale up.
Yeah, just to add on that one, there's 2 things I would say. One is the data collection, getting all the data, and the search, exploring the data like with scalable data. When you have terabytes of data, how do you do a free text search? I think those are the 2 things really making us niche to get people to look at us and say, can you guys solve this problem?
Yeah, and just to add one little piece to that too, is we use our data model. So when every data set we bring in, every data source we bring in, we perform a data model on it. So we map it into our taxonomy.
And do you have domain expertise on these data models? For example, do you know that you get, data from a Kubernetes cluster, and then you would,
Yes.
use this domain
Yes.
expertise to okay.
Yes. Yeah, so that would be like
That's
an operational data model. Yes.
Okay.
Are you seeing use cases around security? As you know, some of the biggest, import of data, into the likes of Splunk is around security. And I think with the Snowflake platform and some of the things you're doing, you have an opportunity to really focus on the security aspects, and it's a big target addressable market for you guys to go after.
Well, that was our primary focus. I mean, Satish and I, we come from, and also Jens come from security companies. And so our intention was, we worked at a startup before called SenSage, and it was designed for big data, though it wasn't now in retrospect. You guys are designed for that. We leveraged your product to solve that whole issue.
Actually, you're right. So we started initially in the security and the Hadoop solution. But as you mentioned, it's a very crowded market, and we want to focus not like a point solution. We really start with the data first approach in the platform that enabled us to address different use cases. And we also want to connect the data points across the security, operational IT. So wherever the change happens, impacts across the organization, so we can get a full observability.
And in terms of nature of data, so you get metrics. Do you get also logs data, or just mostly metrics?
Yes.
Both logs and
traces too.
All the data.
All the data. Yeah. Okay.
And again, Snowflake enabled us with the JSON variant type to capture all the data. So it's not that easy before with other data stores. So I know. Before that,
no, it is. It made it.
If I look back, right, I used to spend 80% on the platform, 20% on the solution. Now I'm spending 10% on the platform, 90% on the solution. That's a totally no difference.
Yeah, because I do content analytics, and I want to produce as much as possible. So that means getting more data into Snowflake.
No, that's a great. Okay, we are very close to this use case because of course we leverage Snowflake a lot in this area ourselves. So we are very familiar with the benefits of that of our platform for this particular use case.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing, and I think we are the only one at this time. I'm not many people leveraging the Snowflake variant time to use our graph model also. And we are still in the early stage, and we see very good results there. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So again, one decision we took when we moved to Snowflake, let's move all the workloads, whatever possible, to Snowflake. Don't put any other data store. I think that's one of the uniqueness. Put all for search, analytics, graph. We use one common data store, no more data silos. That's the theme we are going for every organization. Let's consolidate all the logs to one data cloud.
No, Snowflake was designed exactly for that, so that's music in my ear at least. And in terms of, I asked this question to everyone. In terms of data sharing, do you have use cases where?
Yeah. Actually, I was just going to mention data sharing. That's actually an important ingredient for us because in one of our primary security demonstrations, our SOC demonstration, we use enrichment from Red Sky Alliance. So they house their data in Snowflake, and then we correlate that. And so from a security practitioner, it's really convenient to have it sitting there that I can just do a join with it. So rather than having to download a feed. And so it is, from all the accounts I've talked to, they're pretty impressed with the fact that we can quickly correlate with that. And not only that, we can do IP info, which is a geo data lookup. We do that. And so customers do sort of get that, not only they can prescribe these services, but potentially take their own data and then use that in the marketplace too.
No more data silos. Thank you so much to the team at Elysium Analytics. Please hang out backstage as the judges are going to make their final decision.
I am very familiar with this use case because as I said, we move, all our, diagnostic data, metrics data, everything is moved to Snowflake. I mean, we did that very quickly because we realized that existing solution could not scale. And we say, oh, actually, we have the best system, to do this thing. So we have to use it, and we learn a lot, right? We build a lot of features based on that, knowledge, that use case. For example, we have this, search optimization service that tries to address, this, security analytic use cases. So I'm super happy to see, this type of companies which are building, really a product on top of these capabilities that we have. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, out of all the finalists, I mean, they have the largest market opportunity for sure, but it's also the most competitive market as well.
Yeah, but it is ripe for disruption because the existing solutions out there today are feeling a little pricing pressure from their customers because of the amount of data that's being ingested into their platforms, and it just keeps going up. So someone like this with a back end on Snowflake, I think, can address some of those customer challenges around pricing.
Yeah, I mean, as I think people can figure out pretty quickly, I have a competitor in my portfolio, and there's a reason I'm on the board of a competitor, and it's because the market's massive. The current on-prem competitors, no one will, if you don't build on Snowflake, you're dead in this market. And so while I have a competitor, I was actually pretty impressed with this group. It's a large market. I think the competitors that aren't built in Snowflake are in trouble. And I think these guys seemed very credible to me. I was impressed.
It's going to be super hard.
Yes, it's going to be super hard, yes. Well, they want several winners, but we need to look for one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before I let you go to pick the winner, any thoughts on how they compare to each other?
I think they are very different. Very different. The last one was the scale and the really leveraging, the capabilities of the platform. The others have amazing use case and two. And I like that the other two are leveraging data sharing. I think it's a unique attribute of Snowflake. You can only do that in Snowflake, and both of them have different ways to leverage data sharing. So yeah, it's going to be a super challenging.
They all have a lot of passion for
Yes.
what their mission is, and also great domain experience as well. Very experienced teams.
Which I like a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, I really like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think all three were very good. I think the startup challenge, the word challenge has been flipped back on us as judges, and we have a challenge in front of us to decide a winner.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We'll be right back with the winner. Welcome back. I want to say congratulations to all our finalists for making this far. You beat out hundreds of other applicants to even be here with us today. Drum roll, please. Congratulations to the winner of the first Snowflake 2021 Startup Challenge, Team Overlay Analytics.
Wow.
Whoa! Nice job, Team Overlay.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah, congratulations.
I wish I could share this with the other 15 people that you didn't get to meet today that are busting, doing everything they can behind the scenes to make sure we got to this point. So, thank you.
We really like what you guys did, and it's a very important to democratize the access of data. So the vision and the expertise that you guys bring, and great job.
Yes. And with that, it's time to wrap up. Congratulations to all our teams. Anyone watching this, start building. You could be our next winning team. Thank you very much.